coming to you live right here, Rosemont, Illinois, at the Muscle Car Corvette Nationals. What I have behind me is a very unique Corvette. It's a 1969 L88 with only 18,000 original miles on it. It's got a unique story, and I want my friend right here, Bill Braun, who owns the car, to tell you all about it. Bill, step up and tell us about this great find.
What we got here is we got a miracle here. This motor was taken out of this car in 1970, and about 3 months ago, we found a car that had the motor in the auction. So we bought the car, switched the motors, and after 54 years, the motor was reunited with the car. So miracles still happen in the car industry here.
Okay. Now you said somebody found the motor for you at an auction.
Right.
Where'd he go? Now he stepped back? Okay.
You want Timmy?
Tim, come on. Now this is the gentleman who found the motor. And tell us about that, Tim.
I was at MACAN, Dallas to judge for Bloomington Gold the following day, and I walked through their display of cars, and as usual, any Corvette, I snap a picture of the pad and I add it to my library. And the hood was up on the car, and I snapped a picture, and right away I knew it was a real L88 motor from a 69 Corvette. I thought probably the car was dead, or why would the motor not be reunited with it? That night I entered the engine with the VIN number and my data plate, and another engine popped up, a restoration motor for the same car. And my notes affixed to the picture said, Bill Braun owned the car. And I remembered the car from the Nationals at French Lick, Indiana. So I called Bill, and I told him I found the original engine for your car. And he was a little bit unemotional. I think he was shocked. And I told him that he needed to either get somebody to bid on the car or fly to Dallas. I wasn't going to be able to be there Saturday. And I assured him I would tell no one about the engine in the car to soil his acquisition. I didn't want anyone buying the car and possibly holding him up for money to get the engine. So Bill had a friend buy the car online, and the rest of the story is the swap took place. And I think the only one happier than Bill is me. It was a great day, and I was glad to do that for a friend and help him out. And that's the end of my part.
Well, that's quite a unique story. I have another gentleman, I don't know where he went in the crowd now, but his father acquired this engine back in 1971 when the car was in a body shop. His father put it, he told me, in a Chevelle. Was in that car many years, and he sold the motor, or he put it in a 67 Corvette. And that's the car that Tim just told you about. Fortunately enough, they got the motor back. My friend Eddie Wodnikowski had called me about it because he helped put this motor in. He was very excited about it. This is an extremely rare situation to find that. It's like a needle in a haystack. Nevertheless, this is the car, and we're going to open the hood and take a peek at it. So what's some of the options on this car, Bill?
Well, you got the side pipes, you got Redline tires, and of course you got the L88 with the N22 transmission. It's got a 355 gear in the rear end. And actually the interior is a standard interior on it. That's about all the options they came with. They came with no radio.
How about a heater?
Some with heater, some without. It's just an amazing story, the whole car, how it all came together. And a lot of people were involved in this journey that came, helped me out, did the engine. Buying the car, I had 36 hours to figure out how I was going to buy the car at the auction. I had a friend of mine spotted me the money. Well, he's a car guy. He said, Bill, no matter what, you got to buy the car. So we got the car bought, and then Scott and Ed Wattenkowski helped with the engine swap. I mean, this was the work of many people.
You know, I just want to say something briefly here. A lot of people don't realize it, but yesterday would have been Harley Earl's 131st birthday. Now, I mention Harley Earl because a lot of people don't know who he is. Harley Earl was the inventor of the Corvette. He was the true father of the Corvette. A lot of people get confused. They think Zora Duntov was the father of the Corvette. But Zora Duntov was the brains as far as engineering. He came up with a V8 idea, put it in the car. It was his idea. He told Harley Earl, to make this car fast and more responsive, you have to put a V8 in. So that was him. Then he redesigned the suspension. Him and Morrisali originally made the first suspension, but later on they improved it, and that's what made the car what it is today. So Zora Duntov, the godfather of the Corvette, Harley Earl, the father of the Corvette. Now, I want to say hello to another person that's watching today, and that's Joyce Shinoda. She let me know she's going to be watching live. Now, she's the wife of the late Larry Shinoda, another genius. He made your mid-year. He was the guy who made the split-window Corvette no matter what other people claimed they did. And he also designed this body, the C3, which is my favorite of all Corvettes. So, now I'm going to bring on Kevin McKay. Kevin McKay is going to sidearm me. He's been sidearming me at this show for many years, and he's the biggest authority of L88s in the country. He's restored more L88s. He owns more L88s than anyone. Kevin, take it.
Right. You know, it's amazing. We did back in 2023, NCRS National Convention asked me if I could put together a L88 reunion. So we put together 10 special L88 cars. And the last car that we invited was Bill's car. Bill had a car with no paperwork, restoration moto, everybody was aware of it. But after reviewing the car, we knew, no doubt, it was definitely a factory L88 car. And hopefully maybe one day paperwork or maybe the motor or both would show up. So sure enough, a year or two later, we heard the story about it at MACAN, Dallas. The motor survived. So it's pretty amazing that it really belongs to the car. And here it is today. So I'm really excited that it's back with the car, which is great. Because those stories you never really hear. Usually the cars are gone, burned, stolen, wrecked, whatever it might be. So now it's back 54 years later. It's just an amazing story. So I'm glad it's back together again.
You know, Kevin, I know you're a great enthusiast. You're an NCRS judge. You're a Bloomington Gold judge. In fact, you just put a car at the museum recently, I've seen. It's one of the serve cars, is that what it was? It was an auto show car.
Well, it was an XP819 car. We have the cutaway 69 factory L88 car, which is a black side pipe car as well. We have a black L88 car over by Tony Lorenzo. We got a couple of cars there, which is nice. That's an amazing place to be. If you've never been to the National Guard Museum, I would highly recommend it.
Well, how did you get your start in automobiles?
Well, I mean, as a kid, I was always into anything with wheels on it. Bicycles, go-karts, mini bikes, you know, cars, trucks, anything with wheels on it. So I found my niche. I was very fortunate to work at 5 different Chevrolet dealerships back in the 70s. I started my business in '85. It'll be 40 years this March. 25. I'll be in business. So
you just did it since you were a kid.
Yeah. I just love the history. I love the stories. Just an amazing life for us. It's very fortunate.
Well, me, fortunately, I had a father who liked cars, and he was a semi-driver. He had his own Mack truck. And before I was 4 years old, when I was 4, before I was old enough to go to kindergarten, he actually taught me every car and truck on the road by sight. I could tell you what was a Brockway, what was a White, a Mac, a GMC, you name it. And he did the same thing with cars. He used to get a kick out of taking me around with his friends and ask me any kind of car, and I would tell him what the car was. And then when they, in 1953, I was 8 years old, and he bought me a model of a Corvette. And I told him, someday, Dad, I might own one of those. And he believed I would, and I did by the time I was 26. By the time I was 25. The reason I waited so long is because of the insurance. You know, the insurance has dropped drastically when I was 25.
You're out of storage?
Yeah. So here's the thing. When I was in high school, I never worked on a car. I wanted to. But I had a good friend of mine named John Godfrey. We're only 4 days apart in age. I'm 4 days his senior. But he was already working on cars. He invited me to his house to help him and another friend, L. Teschner, work with dual quads on his 57 Chevy. We're going to do this, I said? He says, nope, we can do this. So we get to his house, showed me how to gap plugs. So I gapped all the plugs, we changed the plugs. We got the quads on. The car fired up and ran. And I says, John, we can really do this. He says, yes, we can. And after that, I was hooked on cars. Completely hooked that I could work on cars. We did even 3 rear-ends on a car in one day. We changed 3 different rear-ends. It took, and we pulled transmissions, we pulled clutches, and I've just been a fanatic ever since. And I love it.
Yeah, but honestly, the ride of hell is when you had your car that you had since new. Come on, Kevin, let me take you for a ride. And I'll tell you something. You know, I've been in some fast cars, Frankie, but your car was really a terror. You know, something really out of his mind. The guy's out of his mind, but it was a thrill for me. I don't even like going on roller coasters, to be honest with you. I have to be in control. Okay, if I'm not in control, you know, and I'm usually fearless if I'm driving. But man, you know, it's tough because you can't control it.
But I let you drive.
Well, yeah, you did. Yeah,
and you told my son when he got out of the car,
right,
and that New York accent he used, Frank, your dad's a Raven maniac.
Absolutely, no question. You know, so
it was a thrill for me that you drove the car and that you critiqued it like you did.
Oh.
And I took your advice and I made all underneath the hood, all back to original. Because now everybody goes, they don't even know I got fuel injection. The way I did it.
Yeah, that was a ride of hell. So it was
well,
fun.
you know the car turns 442.
Unbelievable.
And it's only got a 350.
Yeah, that's a real secret. It really is. It's a great story. Thank you for sharing the story. This is unbelievable. It really is.
Well, I thank you for being my good friends.
Always, Frankie.
I'm so proud of
You too, bro. You too. Be well. Thank you. How you been? Good. Good.
Okay, now he'll begin staying. Like the Mustang, but it was really a Corvette. And he has a great interesting story about the engine in this car. Go.
My dad acquired the 427 L88 engine that's in this 69 car when it was wrecked in 1970. He put that engine in a 64 Chevelle that he was going to race and never did. And for about 10 years he searched for the original 69 car, couldn't find it, and built the 67 tribute car that Bill Braun purchased. Then in September we sold the 67 Corvette at MACAN, and Bill purchased the car, and 54 years later able to reunite this original L88 back to this Corvette.
So you're part of the history of this car. Your dad,
Yes, sir. Yep. For 54 years, we've had this engine in our family.
And it's remarkable how they got it back. That 67 is going through the auction.
Yes,
someone saw it. They took a picture of the engine back, sent it on to Bill, and Bill because I want that car.
Yes. And was able to purchase
You're going to leave or you're going to...
This car is complete. This car is a rare for 18,000. Anyhow, Dan, thanks for taking the time to explain all the issues.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Thank you.